Hey. All right. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back.
Hey.
We've got our second stream
what's
tonight.
it been like? Wasn't that like last week?
About 55 minutes.
Oh,
yeah.
That's right.
About 55 minutes, and hey, we're back. And this is another episode of The Strange Road. I'm your host, Mikey. As always, Bub, riding shotgun.
Hello again.
And we have the wizard Stoner in master control.
Brewing that potion.
Making everything look awesome. And Sir Bro of Diz is back with us once again, making everything sound great. And
like crisp.
How are you doing tonight, Bub? First things first.
I'm good.
You're
I'm
good?
Great.
You ready to roll?
Caffeinated.
Ready to roll
ready
for this
to rock,
one?
yes.
All right, awesome. Well, I'm not going to waste any time.
Hop in.
We've got an awesome guest.
Get at it.
Jessica Jones, the Cryptid Huntress, okay? We've been following along everything she's been doing, and she just crushes it. Amazing
Absolutely.
content.
Great guest.
Backed up by amazing field research.
Yep.
Remote viewing, hunting cryptids.
Getting
There's
after it.
Not much that she hasn't investigated, in as far as what I can tell. And so I want everybody to welcome Jessica. How are you?
Well, hey guys, I am doing excellent tonight.
Awesome.
How are y'all?
Wonderful,
Good.
wonderful.
Really good.
We've been looking forward to this. You've been popping in our chats. We've been popping in your chats. We've seen you in other people's streams, hanging out and throwing in knowledge and letting all us about all kinds of different things that we never heard about.
Yep.
And so we've been looking forward to this, and just tell everybody how you got into this, a little bit about your background, and how you ended up being the Cryptid Huntress.
Yeah, I'm interested.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting story, and so by this, I assume you mean like Bigfooting, right? Because I'm into so much stuff right now. But
it's hard to put a label exactly of what you do. It feels like if it's paranormal investigations, no matter what it is, you're on the ground.
Absolutely. I'll give you kind of an overview of how I got into it. Okay. So when I was a little kid, I was always attuned to the paranormal, and I had experiences with ghosts and things like that. I had an affinity of looking at the sky at night as a kid and looking for UFOs when I was a small child.
Yep.
And so I had this connection to the stars from the very beginning. I used to take my nap mat out to the front yard. I lived on a farm out in the middle of nowhere here in Georgia. And so I would go out there and look for UFOs. I do all my projects on like black holes and weird stuff that, second graders aren't really usually into, And so, I was a little different growing up, but I came from a family who was very open-minded with the paranormal. My mom, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, a lot of the women in the family were very kind of psychic. You couldn't get anything past those women. Okay. So, even, I couldn't sneak out of the house very easily because my mom knew, she just
had that spidey sense. Yeah.
She had it. Yeah. It sucked.
Mom knows.
But she knew.
I don't think my mom had that.
No.
Oh, mine totally did. And so, I was just really into like ghosts and and Bigfoot and just whatever paranormal stuff that was out there. And fast forward to, I guess it was about 2011 or so. My mother was attending these meetings, and where she was having, they were going to like a weekly meetup at a friend's house where they would bring in speakers that would talk about anything from cryptids to survivalist skills to gold and silver to magicians, to psychics or whatever. It was like a free-for-all kind of variety show meeting kind of thing.
Wow.
And and out in Marietta, Georgia, at Mr. Sam's house. And it was a lot of fun. And she invited me one Wednesday night. She said, Jessica, there's a group of men that are going to be there that are Bigfoot field researchers. And I think you would enjoy that.
That's awesome.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
I was about to say, I would be jumping at that opportunity, I think.
Wow. That's amazing.
Totally.
That is amazing that, you somehow like created that energy and that pathway for you just popped up in terms of these little talks. I mean, this is like before the internet, people that was forms of entertainment,
But
newsletters and gatherings.
When you start telling people you have an interest or a hobby, you put that network out there, it starts feeding back to you.
Right.
Because they're like, oh, I know somebody that would love this. Because
you got tapped in really early to the community.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. You know, I mean, this was there. We actually had internet. It wasn't that long ago.
Okay.
But anyways.
Sorry. I'm thinking this
It
is
wasn't
when
like, it wasn't like the 1990s.
you did say
It was only-
2011. You did say 2011.
Yes.
Yep.
So good.
Yeah, we
Thank
did.
you for that correction.
She goes,
But you're
"It wasn't
right.
that
But you're
long
right.
ago." God, that's funny. Sorry. That was too good.
But you're right. I know I look old, but it wasn't that long ago.
no.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh,
So,
my goodness.
So I ended up going to this meeting, and these gentlemen were there. They were from North Georgia, and they were with a group called Enigma Research Group. And there were like 4 of these men, and they were like tracking specialists. They were most of them were former military, tracking experts, let's just say, and they had been out there studying Bigfoot for many years.
Okay.
And had all the evidence, like, foot castings, like track castings.
Right.
They had pictures of sign, like Bigfoot sign and tree bends and tree twists and all that kind of typical Bigfoot stuff. And so they knew the areas that they were researching, like the back of their hands.
Right.
And I had a lot of questions for these guys, like, well, why have y'all not found a body? Where's the Bigfoot poop? That kind of stuff.
Right.
So, yeah. So
funny you say that. There's a documentary with a guy who is obsessed with Bigfoot, and that's the evidence that he finds in it is scat, because it has a like tracker. He put it in an apple. And he takes it in, he has it tested, and they can't like identify it. So saying like what first proof of Bigfoot outside of a cast or a print, I can't remember the name of the documentary, but you saying that just like triggered my head. So I think that was his like, hey, that's how I found Bigfoot.
Amazing.
But
Good for him. Good for him. I'm not into digging through poop, but that's cool.
Same.
I mean,
not my.
However it works.
Yeah, I'm good without doing that.
Yeah, but it's part of like, even if you're a hunter, it's good to know the different types of poop there. I know this is going off on a weird
but that's a hunting skill
here.
and knowing what
it
prey
is.
you're
You got to
going
know
after.
the local
Absolutely.
poop.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially like deer, like if there's bucks or does. I taught my son that last time I took him out into the field. I mean, I've only taken him once actually to one of our main research areas. But yeah, so, and he was like, Mom, I didn't come out here to learn about poop. I came out here to find Bigfoot. He got mad.
Oh my God.
But it's a part of it, when you're learning all of the skills to track Bigfoot or any kind of cryptid, dogman, whatever's out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Know the signs.
You got to know your environment.
Mhm.
Yeah, you do. But yeah, so I was super interested in what these guys were presenting, and I absolutely asked a lot of questions after they had given their presentation, and they said. They saw that I was interested, and they were like, well, would you be interested in joining us on an expedition? And I was like, well, yeah, sure.
Cool.
But I was like, oh my God, I'm going to go out in the woods with strange men I've never met. Okay, whatever. Okay. So I went and I bought some like hiking boots and a tent, and they gave me a list of all the gear I was going to need. And I was like, all right, let's do this.
Nice.
And about,
That's awesome.
yeah. In about a month or two, I think it was like a month or two later, I was on a straight up Bigfoot expedition in the North Georgia mountains. Yeah.
Awesome.
And let me tell you that it changed my life. It really did.
It.
You just got hooked.
Well, I'm here with you guys right now talking about it.
That's so cool.
In that area, outside of looking for Bigfoot, is there, dangerous animals, poisonous snakes?
Yep.
Is there any?
Yes.
What kind of concerns where you were looking for Sasquatch or Bigfoot? What were the concerns outside of that?
Just being with a bunch of strangers that I didn't know, that was kind of weird. But I mean, I'm a very outgoing person.
Yeah.
And so, I don't meet a lot of strangers.
Okay.
And so That's where your gut instinct kicks in. And sometimes 100%. You just have to go with your gut. Yep. And if I had felt uncomfortable, I would not have gone.
That's a good barometer, trusting that natural instinct. Your body and your senses are taking in so much information that a lot of times we're not even aware of the decisions and why we make them in those moments. But, pay attention to yourself and kind of that internal barometer. That's cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I went with my gut and somebody told me just to go. It absolutely set me on the path to where I am right now in this very moment. Okay. I went, I ended up going, and apparently, so what they had done that weekend was a weekend trip. It was actually a week for half of them that went. They stayed the whole week. I stayed for about 3 nights, I think. But they had invited several other people to come, like friends of theirs and stuff. And what they were doing is they were trying to build their team. Mm-hmm. And there were 4 base team members, four of the guys. And then they were just kind of putting it out there, putting the feelers out. Well, do we want to expand our team or do we not? And a lot of those people that were on that expedition, I mean, they're well-known people in the Bigfooting community. They are, they throw Bigfoot conferences and they have great teams of their own. And so I met a lot of really interesting people that weekend, but
great.
I went there with the intention of seeing a Bigfoot. Okay. And I was like, well, if these things are real, I'm going to experience it. And if nothing happens, I'm going to have a good camping trip. Okay. It makes new friends. Right. And so I went in with an attitude like that. I'm a country girl and I grew up, I shoot guns and know how to, I grew up on a farm. And so I'm not scared of wildlife. I'm very aware of my surroundings, but I'm not scared of it.
Okay.
So,
sure.
Yeah, I'm only scared of people.
Okay.
Fair enough.
People are unpredictable.
The most dangerous animal on the planet.
Exactly. So, but we got out there and I 100%, I'll admit, I volunteered to be bait. I was like, I'm going to get the full experience. Yes. I came out here. I'm going to get the full everything, sure. I'm going to put myself out there to get results. Okay. And then at the end of the weekend, I'll go home and I'll if I don't sleep all weekend, it's fine. Cause I'm going to go home and I'll sleep when I get home.
There you go.
It was that kind of a thing. And I think that did yield some results actually.
Nice. Wow.
And so, yeah, where do I begin? Okay. It was a great weekend.
Excellent.
So I got out there, I met everybody, and at night what they were doing was they were they were sitting down as a team and deciding let's divide up into smaller teams and go out. They have a very strict protocol. Nobody goes out by themselves.
It's a great one. Number
we
one.
all at least one person is well equipped to protect whoever you're with. We all protect ourselves out there, if you know what I mean.
Right.
And so it's all about safety. But it's also, we were kind of pairing up with the newbies with the people who knew what they were doing.
Smart.
Yeah. You're doing things that are very, very smart.
Yes. But because it is very dangerous out there. There are mountain lions, bears, snakes. This was in November. So, I think it might've been deer season, or actually deer season had just ended or something. I don't remember. We try not to go out there when it's hunting season. In these places that we go.
Sure.
But anyways, we divided up into some teams and I was like, well, put me with the high risk team. Okay.
That's great.
I didn't say that, but I was like, just put me with the people that are going to be doing some weird stuff.
Yeah.
I want to go do weird
front
stuff.
lines.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Black ops team. That's me. Okay. So but we got out there and we went to a place. There's a place that it did not have a name until we got out there. And now we call it the UFO field. Okay.
All right.
And let me tell you, we're out there doing Bigfoot field research. That's what I thought I was getting myself into.
Curveball.
Okay.
Oh boy.
I thought, but let me tell you, from the very first night, I not only had something that was potentially a cloaked Bigfoot that ran up behind me and knocked my legs out from underneath me. We had UFOs flying over our heads. We had a Bigfoot peeking around a tree right in front of me that I couldn't see, but the guy saw it through their FLIRs. Just it was out of control. Like it was just like this was the first night I was out there. Yes.
Wow. Yeah, we need to go do.
And this is the mountains in Georgia.
Yeah, I want to go.
It's the North Georgia mountains. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of undisclosed location. I mean,
totally.
There's several places that are the North Georgia mountains have more Bigfoot activity than any other place I've ever researched.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know the next spot. Yeah, I'm going to go camp in Georgia somewhere now.
I mean, that's a gorgeous area.
That would be great.
Too.
Let's do it.
It's beautiful.
It is. Y'all holler at me. I'll take you. I'm not going to announce it on live air.
No, absolutely. No.
We'll go. We'll go Bigfoot hunting.
Please don't.
Y'all, yes.
That would be so much fun, though.
Right?
And I would be like you. I would not sleep. That reminds me of going to Costa Rica. And I was up till like 6 a.m. with a headlamp and 2 flashlights because there was so many animals and spiders and lizards and sloths and But yeah, I can't imagine being out in that area. So okay, first night, and you call it UFO Field. The UFO Field?
It's called UFO Field now. Okay. Yeah. So the first night, so I like I said, I volunteered to be bait, which is it's almost like a rite, like an initiation rite when you first start Bigfooting, Yeah. And it's a joke. It's a total joke. Yeah, we joke around about it. But I was with the guys that I was out there with, that we had broken off into a team. I was the only female out there with them. And they were like, well, they like women, and one of the guys was joking around, like acting like he was making me an offering to the Bigfoots, and was like, yelling, we've got you a pretty young lady out here.
Like in King Kong.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Tiny. Where they like, just put your hand up here under this post and then start laying fruits around. You're like, what the hell's happening?
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. It was kind of like that actually is what I felt, but everybody's really funny. Like we have a really good time.
Oh, okay? Absolutely.
And so my goal was to walk up this open field. Okay. And we're in the mountains. It's very dense forest. But there's this open field and it's about 100 yards from like the bottom of the hill, like where the little road is, to the top of the tree line. Okay. And so my goal was to walk all the way up to that tree line, and the guys were going to sit at the bottom of the hill and watch me with their thermal imaging cameras and their FLIRs. Okay. So I felt relatively safe. Okay. Because I knew if something ran out at me, I mean, if they needed to, they could shoot it or something. I don't know. I was and I knew they would at least see what happened to me if something grabbed me.
Right.
So they could at least tell my mom. Yeah, I know it sounds terrible, but it is what it is.
Wow. At least tell my mom. I love that.
Right.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, I put on my big girl panties and I took a deep breath.
Oh my goodness.
I grabbed my backpack and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna walk up that hill. Cool. And I did, and I walked up, and it was a little nerve wracking, but knowing that they were watching me, it gave me some, it gave me some comfort.
Yeah, sure.
And I got about halfway up this hill, and I heard one of the guys running full throttle at me, like running, like I could feel the energy. I'm very intuitive and very aware of energy shifts and things like that. Always have been. And I heard one of those guys, what I thought was one of them, running up behind me. And in my mind, my rational brain, I'm thinking, wow, that's not very professional. Like they're going to come up here and try to scare me.
Right.
And and as they got close, it sounded like a I played rugby in college, so I know what it sounds like to have somebody running at you, right? Like about to tackle me or something from behind. And as soon as whatever it was got up next to me or behind me, it like swept my legs out from underneath me, basically from behind. Wow. And so I still was thinking it was a guy, but it's almost like I braced myself for impact, and then
felt it coming.
It swiped the back of my legs, and then it kept going.
Did you fall? And did you fall backwards then?
I was kickboxing at the time. Okay. And I was very limber and agile. And so it just kind of knocked me off balance, and I kind of jumped in the air.
Okay. Okay.
And the first thing I did was check to make sure there was no logs or like sticks that were sticking out that I could have tripped over.
Right.
Sure.
Because I was confused, in the moment I was very confused, but whatever it was ran past me, but there was nothing there. There was nobody there. So I thought, well, dang, that's weird. What the heck was that?
I would say that, that would set off the alert meter a little
concern
bit.
meter.
Yeah.
I might start to put off a real heat signature. Like Justin's very agitated. Like just
Bigfoot ninja.
Well,
that's right, Burden.
Yeah.
That's a Bigfoot ninja. Well,
it was
especially
a
if it's
ninja.
one of those cloakers. You know, you don't see them coming.
She's a Bigfoot.
I don't know what it was.
Right.
Ninja. Oh my gosh. Well, okay. So here's the thing: the distress call. They did give me a distress call, and it was to throw my arms up in the air if something happened. Okay. Well, when that happened, I kind of like lost my balance a little bit, but I didn't throw my arms up in the air, but they did kind of go up in the air a little bit. Okay, as I was trying to gain my balance.
Sure.
Okay. So, but what I did was I just kept walking. I composed myself, and then I was like, all right, that tree line's right there. I'm just going to go. I was like, I had to have maybe I tripped over a log or something. And even though I knew I hadn't, I was like,
right.
I'm just going to keep going. And by the time I got all the way up to where that tree line was, somebody did walk up behind me, and it was one of the guys. And he was like, hey, is everything all right? And I was like, yeah. I remember turning around and saying, hey, are you a human?
Oh my God.
Wow.
As they're coming up through the bush.
As he was coming up behind me on the field.
Wow.
And he was like, yeah. And I asked him, I told him, he was like, well, we saw you like jump in the air. Like, what happened? I was like, well, did y'all not see what hit me? And he was like, well, no, nothing showed up on their thermals or FLIRs or anything. But I very clearly heard it and I felt it.
Yeah.
And it took off. So can I say for sure that was a cloaked Bigfoot? No.
Right.
Do I know what it was? No, I have no idea. But it wasn't a human. It didn't show up in any kind of camera or anything. So it was just weird.
Did it like hit you hard enough to like get a bruise, leave a imprint of impact?
It did not. It just swept my legs out from underneath me is what it did. It hit the back of my legs and it swept like a, like I said, I was kickboxing at the time. So it was kind of like and I had a little sister and little brother growing up. I know how to, we knocked each other down a lot.
Yeah.
So
right.
Yeah.
it was like one of those things.
Yeah.
It was playful. It was not malicious.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it was like a warning, like get out of here. Like I'm just going to lightly like tap you.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to full on like deck you. And
well, it's like when you play barnyard basketball and our friends, Hey Mile,
barnyard
when
basketball.
We were kids and would deck each other.
That's a tough surface to play basketball on.
You'd get launched, but if they're coming from behind you, you hear those footsteps, you feel that, when you're about to get decked.
Yeah.
We play sports. I mean, when you're about to get hit.
Sometimes unless it's a blindside.
You played rugby. If you're blindsided, though, you can hear those footsteps.
Oh, sure.
The safety comes over, wide receiver comes over the middle. That safety's going to hit somebody.
That's right.
You're going to get hit. And that's kind of reminds me of this is, like you said, you've heard it and felt it almost coming at you, but for it not to show up on anything, it's wild.
Yeah, it was weird. And as I'm standing there at this tree line, I'm looking into the tree line with Craig, one of the guys from Enigma Research Group. Okay, a dear friend of mine. He comes on my show sometimes now. All the guys do, but we were standing at this tree line and. The guys down at the bottom of the hill were watching us, and they said that a Bigfoot looked like something called me over to the corner of this tree line, and I walked right over to it. And right as I walked over, and I was just standing there, I couldn't see anything with my naked eyes. It was just pitch dark out there. And he said that a Bigfoot peeked out from behind a tree and stared at me for a minute, and then put its head back. So it was an interesting night. So so we decided, there was that was just. Very interesting, a lot of fun. Let's go back the next night. Let's go back.
Do it again,
and we went harder the next night.
Sure.
Yeah. We had a plan. I partnered up with one of the guys on the team, and we decided to do like a black ops operation. Where we went in early, like around 3:00 in the afternoon the next day, and we decided we were going to camo out. He might have had a ghillie suit on. I don't know, something like that. And we were going to go out there and sit all day in the environment through the night and just observe. What we were going to do was get in that tree line where that Bigfoot had been the night before. And we were going to sit there become a tree, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, each of us. We were sitting back to back to each other, though, and the team was going to come up at around 9 o'clock that night and make a whole lot of noise and stuff, and we we're going to try to attract a Bigfoot in, and he and I would be there for the Bigfoot to step on top of us. Okay, so it was that kind of a deal. Well, let me tell you what started happening throughout the night was he and I were sitting there, and our equipment started malfunctioning. The time on mine went backwards in hours, and his went forward an hour. We were getting like, it was almost like we were falling asleep and stuff, and like we weren't even that tired. We started seeing UFOs flying over our heads, and then this big, gigantic white light showed up on the mountainside right beside us, started moving, and we thought it was headlights, but there was no way to get a car on that mountain.
Sure.
And it was a low flying UFO was flying all around us and stuff, and it got really weird. It got really weird.
It's like the fountain of paranormal.
Right.
It is.
And unexplained, encrypted.
The Georgia Triangle.
It's like the Toys R Us of everything I want.
Well, it's interesting because
mini Skinwalker Ranch or something.
Well, that's another place that we researched. We call it the Skinwalker Ranch of the South.
Yeah, that's what it sounds
that's another location.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like the sound of that too.
Well, when you talk about,
it's so cool.
Like it's almost like areas bending space time.
Yes.
Where
dimensions are overlapping and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or energy is powering that area somehow.
We always talk about that window that opens up.
Yeah.
Maybe these places are always have this force
24-hour drive-through window service of paranormal
open.
Yeah.
And where these, ley lines or field energy fields cross over in certain points, and the geology is correct, and you're in the mountains, and it just creates these really supercharged spots.
It's not just the location though; it's the people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
sure.
It depends. There's certain people that go out with us that bring the high strangeness. I'm one of those people.
Wow. Oh, I bet you are.
Yeah.
I
kind of amplify, kind of like that last ingredient in the pot, and set things off a little bit.
It goes wild. Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. The mountain's gone wild. Absolutely.
Well, if we're going on a research, on an investigation, we're going with Jessica, because
I was about to say, I'm down.
If you're attracting all that, I want to be there.
I would hope that my strange energy would help amplify the strange energy too.
Right. Well, there's some,
Get your flute out there.
Yeah.
The flute, no, didgeridoo, man. We took the drum and didgeridoos and all that.
Right.
Yeah, they love that. The frequency and the sound, the vibrations.
Okay.
It attracts things in.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like.
I like that sound too.
Dr. Stephen Greer and their team kind of developed.
We've done that.
Have you?
The CE5 stuff. Yeah, we've done it. I didn't think it got a whole bunch of results, but.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But we don't know.
But
I mean,
the music,
we just don't know it.
You do the music of, however you guys are. I think it's all about the person and the style. You know what I mean?
I think
just creating a resonance.
As long as it's your form of communication, I would say they're able to understand it. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like, as long as you're making something that to you makes sense in that communication style, like you're feeling it, you obviously are feeling that energy of it, that translates.
Right.
And that's why I think even with like, I've definitely been around drum circles, not a didgeridoo circle or even somebody playing one necessarily. I've seen video and listened to them. But
we've been in some big drum circles.
Yeah. But even like doing like the medicine wheel cards out in, the Southwest when we were up on our Jeep Wisdom tour and he broke out the flute and was, smudging and doing all the stage. The energy that surrounds those settings, like you're saying, like that's why I think it can be a lot of different combinations, but there might be better types to, especially when you're talking frequency and vibration, like a didgeridoo is.
That'll take you.
I mean, yeah.
That'll open some portals.
Yeah. Put you in a zone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've seen a video I know it's online somewhere, but there was a guy doing like that throat singing, and like like portal opened or something. I mean, you got to be careful. They say there's certain instruments that you can use that do open portals. Sure. And things will come in and out, and it's very dangerous. I don't really talk about that very much because you start talking about it, people are going to start doing it, and then you don't know what. It's like, what are people going to bring into this world? I don't know.
Right.
But it could be dangerous. It's like turning CERN on or something, you know.
I was just going to say that. Like when you started talking about making portals, I'm like, yeah, they got a big one over there. It's like 17 miles underground.
Right. Exactly.
I think it spans like 3 countries.
Right.
There's more Large Hadron Colliders than just CERN.
100%.
We have one. Don't we have one here?
We have some here. Yeah, there's one in Tennessee. I've been told
was in Tennessee. Yeah, in Kentucky, it takes up a few
Oak Ridge
states.
Labs. Yeah.
So
Oak Ridge Labs, where they have a lot of cryptids up there, a lot of weird stuff happening.
Imagine that.
I had 2 different patients when I was in the medical field over the years and I got them that I don't even know their names, so I can't give away their identity really, but 2 older gentlemen that worked there during World War II and were enhancing like uranium, enriching uranium for the bombs. And, like very
super secret.
Yeah, I was like, stop talking.
happenings.
Don't tell me anymore. I'm like, I'm going to end up with a needle in my neck from some Russian, spy or somebody putting me out. Like, don't tell me any more secrets.
Man.
Oh, I want to know. I totally want to know. Because I've remote viewed places around there, like people getting attacked by allegedly packs of wild dogs and stuff. But I don't believe it. I don't believe it was packs of wild dogs. But yeah. Oh, so I guess we can finish with this story, and I'll get into how I got into remote viewing.
Oh my gosh,
that would be
cool. I want to talk about that.
But I want to hear the rest of your
Okay. Well, this is okay. So we're out in the field and we have these UFOs flying overhead. We knew there were UFOs. We knew there was at least one low flying UFO or an orb. We have a lot of orbs out in the field.
Okay.
But this thing was, I had my recording device on, like an EVP recorder. And when I listened to that later on, like days later, because I was like scared to listen to it. Okay. The head of my team came and we met up and he listened to it with me because we knew there was something on there. We knew something had happened while we were out in that field. And you can clearly hear about the time that UFO shows up overhead. It sounded like bottle rockets being shot off all around us. But we had never heard that with our ears.
Interesting.
What? That's really odd.
Bottle rockets, like
that's so cool.
all around us.
Whoa.
So the team comes out and they make all this racket. They're playing drums, they're laughing and having fun. They make a drum circle in the middle of that field. And my partner and I were sitting there just real quiet, just waiting for Bigfoot to step on us, But the team didn't know where we were located. We didn't give our location away. Okay. So as they're down there making all that noise with the didgeridoo, the drums, whatever they had, he and I were waiting for activity to occur, and the team was seeing red lights in the tree line, kind of like robotic looking, like red lights. Well, they just kind of assumed that it was my partner and I. Well, it was about 10 feet from where we were sitting, and it wasn't us. So that happened as well. So that was weird. But yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of other activity other than that, but we knew that something had happened. We just couldn't figure out what it was. We ended up getting back to base camp around like 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning. And everybody was like, wow, Jessica, you were kind of out of it. Like, what's going on? I thought I was fine.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'm just tired. And so the head of my team was like, all right, I think something happened to them. He ended up telling us, he was like, you guys need to start reading up on alien abductions.
Whoa.
And
holy cow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Lost time.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Well, the head of my team is also an amazing remote viewer. Okay. He was thoroughly trained in it. Let's just say, not to get into details, but he's one of the best remote viewers in the world, in my opinion. Okay. And I'd never even heard of remote viewing before. But when you meet certain people, there's no coincidence. It's almost like, I think now, like maybe I've spent past lives with a lot of these people on my team. We all decided to meet up and let's all go hunt for Bigfoot. I don't know, this lifetime. Life is weird. Okay.
Oh, very much so.
Very weird. And so, so he decided, he was like, hey, I want everybody on the team, y'all get books on like the threat, communion, any kind of, any kind of alien abduction books. Yeah.
Streamers.
Yes. So I started reading up on alien abductions, and lo and behold, I started having ET showing up in my house, in my bedroom at night while I was sleeping. I woke up to that twice.
Wow.
While I was reading about it. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was around the same time that the head of my team was like, all right, to be able to look into this stuff a little more, I think it's time to train everybody on the team in remote viewing, so that we can start learning, first of all, just psychic skills, mind control, not me controlling other people's minds, but me controlling my mind.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Because when you're out there under those conditions, it's very stressful. And it can, if you don't have your head right, you can freak out. I mean, it can really scar you for life. And so I don't always recommend that everybody goes out and goes Bigfoot.
No.
It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
It's not. It can be very scary.
Need discretion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyways, we started learning. We were spending, let's just say like weekends at a time together for months and months, for years, actually. That was in 2011. And the whole team has been extensively trained in remote viewing at this point. And,
that's so cool.
Mm-hmm. And other skills, like, everybody on the team has skills, and we've all taught each other our skills.
Yeah.
And I know how to cover a sucking chest wound.
Wow.
Okay. Like combat medical stuff, I don't even know. It's important to know that stuff, but it's just funny.
Well, you were saying that
all sorts of weird stuff.
Everybody, you guys have protocol, and everyone is like former military, and
you're not everybody, trained. But most everybody.
Well, yeah, you've got a system like.
Right.
That's a good way to go about it. It's not just like everybody shows up with, whatever weapon of choice and no real discretion, and, having different teams, stratifying your people with more knowledge versus, somebody that's just come on, like that all makes sense. Not like, hey, I just want to go with Mike. I don't care about the rest of you. Like, good luck. Like making sure that you've got that system.
Well, we've been the same team for many years now, ever since, even before 2011, they were a team. They've been a team for a while. Yeah. And so we're solidified. We're like family. We would lay our life down for the next one, like everybody on our team. We don't have a lot of new friends either. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, we don't usually take other people out with us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not that team. Since I was on that team, I'm on 3 different teams now. We go out and do research different areas all over the South. Yeah. So, but that's my remote viewing team, Bigfoot remote viewers, and we just have a lot of fun.
So your name is not just some catchy name. Like we don't actually, our business isn't on a strange road over here. It's kind of like a metaphorical, but you are the Cryptid Huntress. Like you're really getting after it.
I did not give myself that name. Yeah. It's
even better.
It is. Yeah, I did not give myself that name.
Can we get that story? Who gave you that name?
Dave Scott gave me that name.
Shout out to Dave. Radio. Genius.
Yeah. And did that come about because of just what you were doing? And he was like, you know what? This is what you're doing. You're a Cryptid Huntress.
Well, that's what I am. That's what I do,
Sure.
And Well, okay. So I did not go public with my research at all for at least 10 years. Okay.
Wow.
I worked in government myself. I was the head of a state agency for women, actually. And so I didn't see any reason to talk publicly about Bigfooting.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
And plus, whenever I would talk about it, people just make fun of me anyways.
Right.
It wasn't popular back then as it is now. Like everybody has a Bigfoot sticker on their back of their truck now, right?
Oh,
so
one of the most recognizable symbols, like a bottle of Coca-Cola or McDonald's or Michael Jackson, everybody knows that symbol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
So
I don't think I'm wrong there.
Bigfoot, yeah.
And it is very
popular. Not popular back then.
Yeah.
It was not. And so now it's cool. And now I'm the Cryptid Huntress. Back then I was not the Cryptid Huntress. I was just Jessica trying to, I was going camping. I just told everybody I was going camping,
That's part of the truth. That's not
I was going camping.
Yeah.
But I was also out there doing kamikaze missions with my team, hunting down Bigfoot.
That's great.
Sitting in a ghillie suit in the middle of a field.
I was in a ghillie
suit.
That's
exactly.
Awesome.
I was just out there being bait.
That's awesome.
Oh man.
I love it.
It was a Secret Life, man. I loved it. Oh, Secret Life was another one of those books I was supposed to read. I did read. So Secret Life, that's a good one. But yeah.
Noted.
It was wild. So, but we started learning remote viewing and things like that. And it got to the point where we were, I love remote viewing. Like I really took off with it. Like most of the team, they don't do it very much. But it's a good skill to have when you're out there doing Bigfooting or any kind of cryptid research, or just living your everyday life. It's great to know how to do that because it gets your mind right. We've had to go through, we've gone through the programs like the Monroe Gateway programs. We pretty much went through the training of like Ingo Swann, basically, kind of like what the military was trained in, basically. And so, I just completely took off with it at some point. Now, like I said, I didn't go public with my research for at least 10 years. The Lord works in mysterious ways, though. And I guess it was 2020 or 2021, just like a year ago, I guess it was the end of 2020, maybe. I don't even know. One of my best friends, it's all a blur. It's literally a blur. One of my best friends was volunteering at Camp Disclosure here in Georgia. It was like a big,
cool.
Yeah, it was like a big conference for star seeds and stuff.
Yeah, Camp Disclosure. They were the people in the park at the Dimensions of Disclosure event in 2019. They were the folks that ran the tea house. Yeah, and they ended up piggybacking from that event and created Camp Disclosure. Which, like, David Lone Bear spoke there. Clifford, I believe, spoke there. But, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, well, they had one here in Georgia, and one of my best friends was going to volunteer, and she was coming in from North Carolina. And she was like, well, come up and see me for the weekend, and we're going to be up at this state park. And it was only a couple of hours from my house. I was like, well, shoot, yeah. And I went, and let me backtrack a little bit, because during, it had to been 2020, maybe 2021, during the lockdowns or whatever, everybody got bored, and at some point, and some of us learned new skills. Like I learned how to read tarot cards. Cool. I taught myself how to read tarot cards. Well, the head of one of my other teams, his name's Trey Hudson. He wrote a book. Okay. That's my team, Anomalous Studies and Observation Group.
Okay.
We research a place called the Meadow, and it's at an undisclosed location. We call it the Skinwalker Ranch of the South, just very much like Skinwalker Ranch. And so he took a bunch of our field notes and stuff, and did like a autobiography and stuff, and talked about our research and everything in this book. Published it, and it immediately started getting a lot of traction of like coast to coast and places like that. Cool. And so the book was semi getting kind of popular a little bit, I guess, in the paranormal community. Yeah. And so I went to Camp Disclosure, and I went on a hike with some of the volunteers that were there. And we were just having fun, I just had gotten there. We were going canoeing and hiking and everything. And one of the guys that was there, one of the volunteers was asking me about my Bigfoot research, because he'd heard, and my friend Amanda had told him about my research. And he was like, well, where's your research area? And I was like, well, I can't tell you, but we have this happen there and that. He goes, man, that sounds like the Skinwalker Ranch of the South. Wow. And I was like, oh, what do you know about that? And he was like, oh, I just read this book. And I was like, oh, do you know Jessica J in that book? And he was like, is that you?
Wow, cool.
Get out.
So yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So of course, word spread like wildfire, and the woman who was throwing the thing was like, Jessica, oh my God, will you speak at our conference? So
that's cool.
That's how that happened. Yeah, it just was like, it kind of just happened, and I was like, I was very nervous about speaking, because my team was not, well, one of my teams is not public at all about our research.
Completely just private. Sure. Wow.
Yeah, but see, Trey had written that book. And so I knew that I could talk about that team's research. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I got the green light because he'd written that book. And so I went and I actually spoke there. I started immediately getting asked to like go talk on, I met a lot of really awesome people there who had podcasts and shows out of all over the country. And I went on my friend Paula's Odyssey, went on Paula's show.
Dude.
And the producer came on right after the show and was like, oh my God, would you like to have a show at KGRA Digital Broadcasting?
That's so cool.
So I got a show, and then now I'm at Space Out Radio. And so, but it's because we've got all this research, yeah. I've been able to bring all my team on my shows and give their accounts, show their evidence. It's been a blessing.
That's so cool.
I think it's been a beautiful thing, because a lot of the people on my teams, they wouldn't talk to other people about our research, but they'll talk to me. So that's why we're able to kind of put it out there, and we're exposing a lot of the stuff that we'd never talked about before.
So you're acting as that conduit.
Right.
Right.
Just thinking that.
And even in your former career, you weren't willing to come forward and talk about your experiences while you were in that role. And so maybe there are people that, I don't know, do you give like their names when you recount their experiences, or is this they just tell you their story enough? Or, I guess sometimes for veracity of people like, oh, I want to know, is this a real account? Are you making it up? Not saying you are, but I don't know, do you vessel that information in multiple ways?
For people
like,
that can't.
Hey, we don't want to be known, but you can use my story. Or other people like, I don't want to tell it, but I wouldn't mind if you tell it.
I don't talk about anybody else's research at all. I talk about my research, and then I let them come on my show and tell what they want to tell.
Oh, very cool.
Yep.
Yeah,
cool.
I don't mention, I've got at least one team. I don't talk about hardly a lot of the stuff that we've researched, the remote viewing stuff. I don't talk about.
Yeah.
Okay.
I only talk about, I've done so many targets on my own that I talk about the stuff that I've done personally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But we have OPSEC, you know what I'm saying? We don't, there's a lot of stuff I don't talk about. So it's nobody's business.
You got it.
Totally.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
One thing I know. Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the amount of information that I'm putting out there already is a lot. So
right.
Totally.
Right.
So we're good.
100%. I mean, you can't be open in public with absolutely everything all the time.
No.
I mean,
Nobody is.
You did mention in our chat, I think it was an Instagram reel or one of our videos that we had put out where you had talked about remote viewing the Black Pyramid of Alaska.
Yeah.
Could you talk about that as an example of
you're open to
remote viewing? I know you're
absolutely,
if you're public with it, of course.
Absolutely. If I've done a show on it, I'm public about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
That kind of stuff. I have a show that I do. I used to do a show with Texas Front Porch on Friday nights. Now I do it on my channel, the Cryptid Huntress. So y'all go subscribe. I do it on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. I do a show where I usually remote view something, and I'm usually given blind targets. I do something called coordinate remote viewing, where I'm just given a set of numbers. That's all I have.
Okay.
And I sit down with a pen and a bunch of paper, and I have a process that I go through, and I start channeling a bunch of information, and I can figure out what the target is through those numbers. And so I looked into the dark pyramid, or the Black Pyramid of Alaska, and also my friend Tanya did it as well. She's a remote viewer out of Idaho. I've never met Tanya in person before, but we're very good friends. I like to have other remote viewers come on the show with me when I can, so we can do the target separately and then reveal our findings on air live.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, because I stand behind my data 100%. And I'll tell you straight up, like, I don't even know what half of it means.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a channel for it, basically. So when I'm tasked a target by someone, usually they're the ones that know about the target and I don't. So I've got the information, and so it's up to other people to make my data make sense.
Right.
Okay,
right.
if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So
and once you remote view something, can you actually find it on a map, or is it something where you're navigating? Okay, so do you have an idea of where the Black Pyramid actually is?
I do now. Yeah,
wow.
I do. Well, remote viewing is interesting because it's not like you get all the information and you know exactly what that target is right when you do it. Different remote viewers pick up on different aspects of that target. Okay. And so, for example, I picked up on the darker side of this, and also, like, when Tanya and I do targets together, I'm always picking up on, like, the dark side of everything, and like the messed up things that are like evil or bad or whatever, or something that's just more corrupt, let's just say. She picks up on the light attributes of it. Okay. And like how beautiful it is. And she's like love and light.
So wait a minute. How do you guys,
I'm the dark side.
How do you resolve that between the two of you?
No, it totally melds. It's all the information. It all comes together.
Okay. That's what I was wondering.
It all comes together.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the same data, but I'm just seeing it from a different angle than she is.
Okay.
So it's like the same data, but she's like, I'm seeing the outside of the pyramid. She is inside it.
Right.
So like we're working in tandem basically,
right.
On these
Dualistic.
targets. Yeah.
Okay.
It's amazing. I have so much fun doing this. Yeah. That thing is ancient. Okay. We're talking about millions of years old. Yeah. ET kind of technology. We both picked up that it was obsidian. It had the outside of it had obsidian all over it.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a power generator, like a power source. And so I was picking up on like the outside, the part that's above the ground, because it's kind of buried in the ground. Tanya was actually picking up that it was pointed downward as well, like a triangle going up and then a triangle going down.
A Merkaba.
Yeah.
That's a Merkaba.
Like a Merkaba, exactly. It was a Merkaba.
Yeah. All the folks at, by the way, the Serpent Mound Star Knowledge conference that we were at, your friend Apollo was there actually, and I think we just missed her.
That's right, Serpent Mound. I was wondering if y'all saw her there. Yeah,
we were there on Saturday. We didn't get a chance to run into her. I only found out later that she was out there. So, shout out to her. But we've known Tom and Terry for a lot of years, and did the Serpent Mound Impact Crater tour video with Tom, and helped Tom and Terry with some of those events when they were during COVID and stuff. So great people. It's so cool that you mentioned her earlier. But I need to remote view that mound. That thing's pretty cool. It's great. You should too. And can I be there when that happens? And, and I want to know.
I want to see the live stream.
I have some theories. And I don't know how much you really. Do you go into a target not knowing a lot?
I usually go into a target and having no clue. I have a set of numbers.
That's what you were saying. Okay. So,
I'm usually tasked a target. So by somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the numbers, how does the arrangement of those numbers, is there something?
It doesn't matter.
They're
random.
They're random. Okay.
The numbers mean nothing, basically. They are assigned a target. Your targets are assigned a set of numbers. They can be anything. It really does not matter what they are. It doesn't have to be like actual coordinates. When we say coordinates, that's a loose term because it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, but we switch them up every target, of course. But it's just whatever those numbers are attached to that target is what it is. And I mean, and that applies to like, I have missing persons targets quite often, cold cases where people have their bodies or they're missing or they've been murdered and they don't know what happened. I've done a bunch of those too. So, wow. It could be anything. Yeah. Now, if it's something that's like off planet, the numbers are a little bit different. We assign those differently. Sure.
Well, the reason why I was talking about Serpent Mound Star Knowledge is they had a guy, one of the speakers there, that was talking about Merkabas. And
I don't know if I heard that part.
It was towards the end, and that's exactly what made me think of this pyramid.
Okay.
And I've
never heard of a Merkaba.
Those are essentially energetic machines, and we all have a Merkaba. It's a sacred geometric, two inverted pentagrams, but in like 3 dimensions. It's a really intricate sacred geometric pattern, but it's in like 4 dimensions essentially. And so it's a pyramid above and below, and then there's points that come off of it.
Okay.
And it's pretty interesting because it's like we all have a Merkaba, apparently, and that's how you remote view. That's how you astral travel.
I did not know
and this Merkaba is essentially like a vehicle. So
is there a way to like enhance it or work on it or like tune it? Because I feel like I used to have one, but I don't anymore.
Well, we'll have to get you, and I think we're going to have that gentleman on in the future.
Cool.
But so the Black Pyramid of Alaska, you got a sense of kind of this as above, so below kind of vibe from this. And then, we've heard the Hollow Sky guys talking about that it's a machine that's kind of putting out negative vibes.
Conscious suppression, like conscious.
Okay.
Is that what you felt?
All right. That's interesting that you say that because I have done several remote viewing targets from Alaska. Okay. And they have something called the Alaska Triangle up there. And it's not just that Alaska Triangle, because if you know DA show, you probably know Fred in Alaska, Fred Roll. He lives up there. He's been on my show several times, and been on DA's a good bit. Yep. He's got an amazing YouTube channel called Subarctic Alaska Sasquatch. Y'all go check it out.
Oh, cool.
Yes. Well, he'll tell you, like, it's not just within that Alaska pyramid or triangle, excuse me. It's all around Alaska. The animals, the wildlife is much more aggressive towards humans up there. Now, that includes Sasquatch, okay? And any kind of cryptids are up there. They're very violent, okay? A lot of them are violent. And Fred will tell you straight up, he was terrorized by some, him and his cousin and his uncle, and he gets stories all the time of them. You'll have to watch his channel. He's got some great stories.
DA was saying that he said they were more aggressive up there.
He did say
very much. Yeah. Now, with the Black Pyramid, we were picking up that it was generating power not only up, like it could power the entire state of Alaska and more, okay, but it was also powering down into the ground, like underground bases, tunnels, whatever's going on down there. We were picking up that it had the potential, let's just say, to power like an underground city, inner Earth or something. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That kind of a thing. It also was covered in what we consider to be hieroglyphics. Okay. Now there's another thing that if you're familiar with the ancient Egyptian settlements in the United States, okay, they have in the Grand Canyon. Yeah. Are y'all familiar with that?
Yeah. John Kincaid.
Yeah.
G.E. Kincaid.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That canyon there, they said there's hieroglyphics that looks Egyptian, but it's not quite Egyptian. Okay. That's kind of like what we were seeing on the Dark Pyramid up there. I believe it's, oh man, this is my opinion. I do believe that a lot of these ancient pyramids, these Egyptian settlements, I think that they could potentially have come from off planet or something. That's my opinion.
I mean, we still struggle to look at the construction of the Egyptian pyramids. We still find all kinds of settlements and ancient civilizations now that they're still unearthing.
Underwater,
have they
sunken civilizations are being found left and right.
Yeah. Like I said, as the Earth keeps warming up, the bathtub will drain, and we'll see all of the things that are covered up by water, or buried, and even down in Antarctica. Are there pyramids in Antarctica? Why are there pyramids in these cold places? How long ago was that dry and arid, and it's wild. It's really wild.
Our history has been hidden from us.
100%.
And that includes the lost giants. I mean, we have giants all over the world.
Yes, we do.
So, yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Smithsonian.
Always.
I actually sat in for Dave Scott about 2 weeks ago, I guess. He was out of town. And I got to interview. I had the most amazing interview with these two gentlemen out of Australia, the Strongs, Stephen and Evan, his father and son team.
Oh, cool.
They're anthropologists out of Australia. And they talk about how they have discovered that, life didn't just begin, like we weren't just out of Africa. Okay. Life was seeded, human life was seeded in Australia by the Palladians. And they claim they have the proof of it. And it comes with like rocks, stones that have alien technology in them.
We talked about Bruce Fenton. We talked about them. I can't remember the name of the rocks.
We covered.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, he had the rocks there. Yeah. He has the rocks. Yeah. Also, in these rocks had been taken from somewhere, like stolen or something at some point, and the person who they were given to died. Like they're kind of cursed. If you're not supposed to touch them, they will kill you. Okay, like the stones will actually kill you and stuff.
Some kind of technology.
Yeah. They even have moon-eyed people, like moon-eyed human, or not humans, are actually aliens, but the moon-eyed beings or whatever you call them. Yeah. He has skulls of those and stuff too. They just have a whole lot of proof, okay, according to them, and I agree with them, and I believe them, of that we didn't come from primates, okay. There was something else. We were seeded here from star people, basically. In a lot of Native American cultures, that's what they say.
Right.
Cherokee.
Yeah.
You know, I've spent time up in Cherokee, North Carolina with my friend Chief David, and he's an elder up there, and spent the weekend with him on top of a mountain with some friends and family.
That sounds amazing.
And he called in the sky ships over cachers. There's a website about it where they have sky ships over cachers, North Carolina, and we watched the UFOs. He called them in, and they hovered over us all weekend at night.
That's so
and
cool.
It was all fun and games till the campfire goes out. It's a little scary up there.
And then it's just
we have
light through the
Bigfoots
sky.
and there's all sorts of weird stuff up there. But but he very much so says that he and his people came from the stars, and those are his ancestors. And he also took me out to Judacola Rock. If you guys are familiar with Judacola.
No.
Okay. Have you heard the story of Sukalu out of North Carolina?
No.
Sukalu the giant. Well, they say he was a Sasquatch.
Okay.
But there's a gigantic rock with petroglyphs on it, that ancient. Okay. Very ancient. And it's near Cachers. It's near Cherokee, actually, North Carolina. And it tells the story of creation, basically. And it does have to deal with the star people. It's almost like Star Wars and things like that on this glyph. But there's also a handprint. I think it has 6 fingers on it. And they say that is Sukalu. Story of Sukalu is a giant. Some people say he was a Sasquatch. But he guarded that area, and he would anytime the Cherokee would come to the men would come to hunt on the land, he would chase them off. And I don't know if he ever killed any of them, but that was a story. And he was just a fierce warrior, just a huge, gigantic giant Sasquatch. Some people say a giant. I think it was a giant. Some people say he was a Sasquatch, but anyways, he ended up having a human girlfriend, and there's a story behind that too, but we won't get into that. It's a little spicy. It's a little spicy.
That sounds like the DA reference to, I think it was somewhere in northern U.S. and like the tribes that said like the Sasquatch would come in and like take women from time to time, and then they came back and they'd be pregnant, and that kind of craziness.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
so Sukalu, it's really cool to look into. There's just stories of all these giants.
Yeah.
And
we've looked into it pretty deeply. Here in Ohio is kind of ground zero for giant skeletons being found.
And also for the Smithsonian showing
hundreds, we've talked about it.
Skirting them away.
But Miamisburg, Ohio, the Miamisburg Mound, they pulled a 9 to 10 footer out of there, had it on display at the town hall.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Cincinnati Enquirer wrote about it. Newspapers from all around the region wrote about it. The Smithsonian showed up, basically grabbed the skeleton that was on display, disappeared. They inquired, hey, what's going on with the research? What's happening? That's just one example.
Right.
Usually they're found upright, facing east. Very odd burial positions. Sometimes
jewelry.
There's stone mounds and megalithic structures on the inside of the mounds where they find big copper gorgets.
The neck plates that they would wear around
Egyptian style copper neck plates.
Yeah. Egyptian stuff.
Yeah,
I'm telling you,
it's very Egyptian.
There was actually a cave, and I want to say it's either Wisconsin, Ohio, or Michigan. I don't know. It's one of those places up there, or Illinois, maybe. I don't know.
Illinois has got a lot of strangeness.
They had it was called Berman's Cave or something like that. I'm totally not probably getting that right, but I think it was Berman's Cave, where there's all sorts of Egyptian artifacts there. Gold, a lot.
Yeah.
He found all these gold coins, and he went and melted them down and sold it. Okay, I know, right?
Oh.
But we have Indian mounds here in Georgia. I mean, we have Mayan ruins here. Yes.
Well,
I've actually gone to the museum. We had a lot of the artifacts on display, and a lot of copper, a lot of the jewelry, like you were referring to.
100%.
Things like that. Yeah.
We've been to Etowah Mounds. That museum's incredible. I mean, it looks like Mayan Aztec style artwork. These insane effigies that they would bury are so incredible. They're big in these design of people. But I mean, it does look like a northern Aztec Mayan, the symbols.
It's crazy how we don't know that in mass as a society in the U.S. the history of just the Native American.
Etta was beautiful.
Right.
Those were pyramids.
It's
man.
not
They're
well
huge.
disseminated information.
Yeah.
People just have the thought, or at least my take is like, oh, Columbus and, the settlers came here and the Native Americans showed us how to have Thanksgiving. And like, that's it.
Yeah.
They didn't build all these cool structures and we don't talk about it and we don't get into the artwork and, the similarities from other cultures. And we just kind of like keep it very dumbed down. But that again goes back to kind of the Smithsonian and also, coming here as Manifest Destiny. Like we had to paint it out that, no, we were coming here to, make this a new world, to have that justification behind it. But really, we just kind of trampled over all of this really cool stuff that was already here and just kind of swept it under the rug.
In Ohio, there's only 1,000 left. There was over 10,000.
They got raided, all the mounds, yeah.
Well, the Strong family, Evan and Stephen, they said that the Smithsonian had contacted them about their alien tech rocks and asked if they could house them there at the Smithsonian.
Yeah,
and they basically told them to F off.
I would have said, I would have said, hey, come down here. Yeah, we want to talk.
They've been
to you.
getting away with that forever.
And then I would have told them in person. I would have said, waste of flight.
They always lose the log. They take in the items.
Or they give you back an item that's not your item.
Well, that's happened for sure. But
like,
the
hey,
records,
no, I sent you a skull that looked like this.
The records magically just disappeared. Or, oh, we don't have a file on that.
Right.
How many times can, historicals...
Like I said, it's like between the Smithsonian and the Vatican of the two known repositories of information that we're not allowed to look at.
Yeah, we're not allowed to see a lot.
Well, you know what they want with, so the storyline that we've been fed is that we are an isolationist type of country here, and or the world actually is just like everybody stays in their own little box, and nobody ever traveled around. Well, we have like evidence of like ancient civilizations from like China in the U.S. Some people say that we had kings and queens here, and things like that. I mean, we've got the Egyptians that traveled here. You name it, Vikings. We have like Viking artifacts and things like that found here. The history of this land is way older and goes way farther back and is way deeper than what we're taught. So,
absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
Turtle Island.
But that's the whole,
North America's Turtle Island.
Right. That's the whole telling of the story, though, and whatever narrative is being written by whoever has the power to write that narrative. We got to kind of live through whatever story's being said. This is how things are. And again, I started having the concept a long, long time ago of like, nobody wants to rewrite history anymore. Like whatever's been said, like Egypt's only this old. We don't want to go any further with it. There's nothing older than this age.
Can't be older than that.
There's just like these hard limits, and it's that knowledge filter and it's that whole control of information. And it's sad because, we're kind of living in we are living in basically an alternate understanding of where we are in time and space and history.
And that's where remote viewing kicks in. And I'm able to go and see things when I'm tasked with targets of like historical events and things like that. We can get the real deal as to what really happened. And so that's why remote viewing is a little bit dangerous.
Wait. Remote viewing, you can go to times in remote viewing, not just places?
I can go I can go anywhere. Yeah. I can get tasked any kind of target.
That's really cool. I did not know that. I always just thought remote viewing was, a location and,
on a place on Earth in this time right now.
Right. And from the use of maybe like military service of like trying to, suss out where targets are or suspects of, or weapons cache or whatever you want to say. Like, no, I didn't know it could be a time table of, hey, go back to this date, or they don't tell you that. But
I can travel back. Absolutely. I can travel back to any time, basically, forward, backwards, wherever.
Okay.
Wherever you want me to go, I can go. Yeah.
Right paw of the Sphinx. Go.
Yeah.
The what?
Oh, the right paw of the Sphinx.
The right paw of the Sphinx. Is there a, have you ever?
I could be tasked with that target. Absolutely.
Yeah. The Edgar Cayce prophecy that underneath the right paw of the Sphinx was going to hold like the history of humanity and like.
Well, I mean, I would have to remote view the actual Sphinx, like what's there, and then my data would probably have that in it, probably.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hidden chamber. Right paw of the Sphinx.
Yeah.
Does it contain the Akashic records?
Yep.
Yeah, like the target would be like the contents of that paw of the Sphinx or whatever, like it's got to be, it's important to word the targets the right way so that I go deep into it to find it. Like I was tasked a remote viewing target over the weekend, and I just did it this morning. And apparently I was right on target. I still don't know what it was. I know it's some kind of alien tech or some kind of technology or something, because that's what it was. And my friend Barry Littleton, he's an amazing researcher. He's been tasking, I taught him how to task me targets. And so we've been getting some phenomenal data out of weird stuff like the TRAPPIST-1 star system, the Yellowstone whispers and the black fog with like gugways hiding in them at Yellowstone. And I mean, just crazy stuff. Yeah.
What does that mean?
I'm blown away. I was about.
Do y'all know what that is?
Dugways?
No.
What a Dugway?
Dugways are like, they're mutant Sasquatches.
Oh.
Yeah.
Never heard of a Dugway.
A Gugway. You're with the Cryptid Huntress tonight.
Is it a Dugway or a Gugway? What's
Gugwe?
Gugway.
Gugway.
Oh, okay. I was saying Dugway because I was thinking like Dugway Air Force Base or what Dugway Proving Grounds. Isn't there like a Dugway something? Maybe that's why I'm confused. I'm sorry.
Gugway.
It was like a Mondegreen there for a minute.
They get confused for dogmen sometimes. And being in Ohio, y'all have a lot of dogmen up there.
We have some definite.
You have dogmen.
We had a
lot of Sasquatch.
Anonymous encounter that we know. We kind of obfuscated the person that was giving us a counter, but it was kind of like a dogman story. But give me a description of a Gugway. You said it's smaller than a Sasquatch, but kind of like a dogman.
It's big. No, they're still big.
Still big, right?
Yeah, it's like a mutated Sasquatch. They've got they're a little more violent. Let's just say a little more violent. Big like fangs for teeth and things like that. They a lot of them have like a snout, kind of like a dogman, but it's a Sasquatch. So Sasquatch and dogman are two different breeds, basically. They're not related.
You think the Gugway is kind of like the Anubis type look with that more pointed snout?
No, a dogman would look more Anubis.
Yeah, that's
okay. Like that. That's more dogman. A Gugway is more. It's almost like a baboon kind of looking thing.
Okay.
More primate, more lower primate, or
I thought I was pretty well versed on the cryptids, and every time I find a new one.
I know.
It's the same as like real life biology, right? Like every time you go in the ocean, they find a new species of fish. If they look hard enough, they'll find a new species of this. If you go to Papua New Guinea, you'll find a new species of bird or whatever it is. And it's like
pterodactyl.
Same with cryptids. Yeah. Yep. Same with cryptids, though. I think it's really interesting how more and more as time keeps going on, and like you said earlier in the show, the interest levels there. People are more willing to talk about it. There are these channels to go about it. And now it's like there's even more coming about. Like every time we go to an event or a convention or some kind of conference, I'm like, the hell is that thing? What's the Dagwood? Is that another one, right? Not the Dagwood, not the sandwich. What's the God, I think that's one. It looks like a little crocodile or something almost. Man.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
That's what I'm saying.
I do.
I need a new book. A new book of cryptids needs to come out, a new updated,
encyclopedia
phylum,
cryptids.
And kingdom and species. And
there's so many. I'm actually going to be doing a live show tomorrow on my channel on some cryptids from the Appalachian Mountains.
Oh, cool.
And I was just doing my research this afternoon, and I was seeing that there's been a reported sighting of a raptor, like a velociraptor here in Georgia.
What?
Dude,
a velociraptor.
I think a lot of this stuff is just portals opening up.
Or time
which
is
takes
slipping.
me to,
and that raptor just shot out of 65 million years ago into the current time.
We broke a hole into the space-time continuum.
Back to CERN making up black holes.
I mean, think about all these cryptids, all these creatures, all these weird things that people are seeing. And you guys have investigated portals.
Yeah, yes. Can we get into
Well, we didn't mean to.
You didn't mean to. That's amazing.
We didn't mean to.
Just stumbled across an old portal.
Let's hear about the portal, because that's got my interest.
Our friend Joel Thomas from Kill the Mockingbirds podcast had a great conversation with him. And he said, a portal opens up, I'm running right into it. So
no, don't do that. Definitely don't do that. We actually had to come up with protocol.
Yeah.
We had to come up with protocol for the next time we encounter a portal. And and I got to say, it's very dangerous. We measure for radiation, when we're out in the field. And a lot of times whenever there's any type of paranormal activity, there'll be a small spike in the Geiger meter. And so that's like a little dose of radiation. And it may not be very much.
Right, but they're super sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we had what we consider to be a portal open up in the meadow one evening. And the two gentlemen that went in there both ended up ultimately getting very sick. And one of them has passed away, actually. Now, we're not saying that was the cause of his death, but he was a healthy 56-year-old man. And after that happened, he got a heart condition and had a heart failure, a heart attack. The other gentleman that went in, he got an aggressive form of cancer.
Wow.
And is still recuperating from that. Like, he's still not out, he's better today, but
can I ask, was this if you don't want to give away the location, but how did you come upon this portal, or what was going on that it materialized, or can you kind of give me that background of where? Yeah.
It's in the south. It's a place we call the Meadow.
The Meadow again.
Somewhere. It's the Meadow. Yeah. The place that we've been researching for a while.
Okay.
And the team that Trey's on. So that book, the Meadow Project, is about this.
Gotcha.
And so we've been researching this place for quite a while. Okay, so full disclosure, I had left that afternoon, so I wasn't there when the portal opened up.
Okay.
I had been there the other part of the weekend, but I had a small kid at home, and so I had to go home and take care of my son. He was only 3. Okay, and so. But when I got home, I had brought some orbs home with me, apparently. And we actually had those on film, on video, floating around my son that night. While he was on the elliptical machine, just having fun. And his dad, who I was married to at the time, he was filming him with his camera phone. And he called me in the living room. It was in the living room. Okay, the elliptical machine. Sorry, but it is what it is. And it was in the front living room. And so my son, the only reason I haven't been able to show this publicly is because my son had on his underwear or whatever. So I can't just show that. I can't show that video. I tried to show it at KGRA, and my producer was like, "No, you're not showing that."
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, I got called into the living room, and there were 2 orbs, like balls of light, floating around my son. And I had just gotten in from the Meadow that afternoon. Okay, that evening, actually. I'd never had orbs like that in my house. And they were dancing around, and my son was watching them. He was like, "Mom, ball," and he was following them with his finger. His dad couldn't see them at all with his eyes. He could only see them through his phone, the screen on his phone. And so I'm seeing them with my own eyes. My son's seeing them with his own eyes. You can clearly hear us having our conversation about it on the video. And then one of the balls shoots towards the phone, and the camera shuts off.
Whoa! Okay. What?
Yeah, shut the camera off.
Wow.
It did.
Wow.
It did. And so that was that. I had no idea my team was having this prolific experience out in the Meadow that night.
Right.
So the team had gone into the Meadow that night. This is something that we do regularly. We do a whole bunch of different types of research out there, but usually at night we'll go out to the Meadow. We'll disperse into small teams, and we have constant radio communication. We all carry CB radios, our Baophones, and we have somebody back at base camp that holds the base camp down, and we're in constant communication with everybody. We've had a lot of weird stuff happen out there. So it was not shocking that we had some kind of portal open up. We'd had a lot of other weird stuff happen out there. So one of the teams was set up on one corner of the field, and then we had, I think there was like 3 or 4 different teams out there, and there was a 3-man team in the very beginning of the Meadow when you first walk in, and they were looking through thermals and FLIRs and whatever. And one of the guys, Dave, he noticed that there was this like box forming in the middle of the field. And he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. So he had Terry look at it with Rock Hill Bigfoot, by the way, had Terry look in and see, what is this cube? It's like a cube, like showing up. And it just looked like you could just see an outline of a temperature change through the thermal imaging camera. And it was pretty big. And he was like, "Yeah, that's weird." Okay. And it looked as though it had a door and windows on it or something, and like crosses inside of it. It was just didn't make sense. Okay. And so they dispatched over across the field, and they sent a couple of guys over to it. There was like 3 guys went. 2 of the men, the ones who I told you about, they got kind of sick. They got really sick, actually. they approached this cube, and it was like the size of like a shed or like a garage or something, basically.
Holy cow.
This is what she was talking about in the comments on our last Strange Happenings episode.
Yeah, I'm in.
Great.
I'm in. I'm totally in. This is wild.
Yeah. So the last thing on anybody's mind is a portal. You know, you think of portal, you think of like Doctor Strange and like the thing swirling around in like a round circle, and that's a portal. Well, this was square, cubed kind of, and as the two gentlemen walked up to it, you could see very clearly their heat signatures. They're white, like balls of light, basically like white heat signatures. And they're walking up to this thing, and it's already starting to like dissipate a little bit. Like the temperature is kind of changing. It looks like it's kind of disappearing just a tiny bit. As they walked over to it, they could not see it with their bare eyes, like their naked eyes. They could only be guided to where this thing was. And as they walked over to it, their heat signatures disappeared. And they described it, and this is an open field. Okay, there's no trees right there. There's nothing there. There's no reason on Earth for their heat signatures to have disappeared. Well, Kristen, one of the girls in the first 3-man team, she thought to grab her camera, and she started recording as they walked up to it. So we actually have this documented.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so they walked over to this cube, and their heat signature disappeared. They both described it as walking into a black velvet curtain. The temperature changed, the ground vegetation changed. It went from like brushy and muddy and sticks and grass to smooth.
Whoa.
Smooth ground. The stars disappeared, they said. It was a little bit cooler. And okay, my entire team, we've all been trained in remote viewing. We know about like energy shifts and changes, and we know what to look for. Plus, those guys are former military.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. They knew something was wrong or different. You know what I mean? And and I believe they were sporadically losing radio contact and all that kind of stuff. So they came out, and their heat signatures, and they didn't know they were coming out because they were just standing there. They didn't know. But their heat signatures reappeared, and as it did, the box shrunk down, and then it moved and it disappeared.
Whoa.
Well, you think about with like if you are able to teleport or open up these dimensions, like a safe way to do it, right? Like the whole concept of like if you can teleport, you have to know where you're going, because you don't want to teleport yourself like halfway through the floor, right? Like the Philadelphia. Yeah, absolutely. So
Philadelphia experiment.
It makes sense. And even in like, I think in the Terminator, they did the same thing before. You know, he appears, it's this like vortex and plasma ball opens up to create this 3-dimensional space for whatever you're transporting. You know, wherever you're landing, I guess maybe if that doorway opens up in the middle of a mountain, they're like, oh, nope, don't park it there. Let's readjust our coordinates, and then we can see if we open it up there, can we land there? And maybe that's why there's also these hot spots where it reoccurs, right? It's a known location. We figured out, whoever we are, we figured out how to open this portal at this spot. You know, as far as
that's what I think.
Yeah.
I think that's how a lot of these cryptids travel. And we have a lot of natural portals here on Earth.
Yeah.
I think there are unnatural portals and there are natural portals.
Fair enough.
A matter of fact, one of my blind targets that I was tasked, I got some coordinates for. It was Earth's natural portals that had been weaponized. Okay, and I was totally on target with that, but it took me to the sun. Okay, like portals, like there's things coming from here to the sun and coming out, in and out. And it also has something to do with like the solar flares and like the time of day, the time of year. Like there's certain times where these portals will open up.
There was just a huge solar flare. I don't know if you saw that. The Aurora Borealis was stretching below Ohio, that you could see that, like, which never happens. We don't have privy to that view usually. So like for the last couple of days, because of a huge flare that kicked off.
Wow.
Been nailed.
Yeah. But who's to say like these ancient beings here on Earth, like Sasquatch, you know, they may have knowledge. They probably have knowledge of these portals, these natural portals, and that's how they do travel. You know, I've said from the very beginning, from what I've experienced, what my team's experienced, we believe that they could potentially be doing interdimensional travel, hyperdimensional travel, whatever you want to call it, and utilizing these portals in some way. I'm not scared to share that information right there. Because
No,
I know
I mean, that's always resonated.
Some people think it's crazy.
No, that's always resonated with me because I'm like, if they, that might be a reason they're some sort of like higher dimensional being. Now, some of them, like you said, the kind of lower, I don't want to say lower intelligence.
Well, like
but
DA said, there's a variety of Sasquatch,
which we were just talking about.
There's a variety of chimpanzees and great apes and
did I say that?
Gugway.
The Gugway. So that's what DA was. Remember, he was showing us those
pictures of almost like
pictures
Aboriginal
from
or
the Navajo
Native American Sasquatch
from the Navajo reservation from Jesus.
He had some artist renderings of some very interesting.
No, there were the photographs of the more animal looking, like you were talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
That came from a Navajo reservation from Jesus.
I know what you're talking about.
Gonzo from Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
The actor, but he had
Gonzo. That's Jesus. That's my friend.
Jesus.
Oh, you know him as well.
He comes on my show. He was just on my show like a week ago. Yeah.
Will you tell him how much I love that show and give him a high five virtually?
I will.
That's awesome.
But we saw those photos.
I love Gonzo, man. He's the best. Well, I call him Jesus.
Jesus. That's what I wasn't sure.
Like
Jesus.
Now that I know that he's into Sasquatch as well.
It's Jesus. Okay.
He is.
Just elevated even more my appreciation for him.
Yeah.
He has a great YouTube channel called Breaking Bigfoot. So y'all go
I'll check it out.
Signing up.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, he actually is I asked him to come on my show when we were talking about the Egyptian settlement in the Grand Canyon. He was on my show with me for that. And he's actually an anthropologist. Okay. He's actually taught classes at a college on anthropology. And so
really?
Yes, he's very smart man. Okay. Now he actually is the one who opened me up to the timeline deception with the old world fairs, the orphan trains, the incubator babies, the star forts, all that stuff. We've done shows. We've done shows together.
I just started hearing about that theory. That's been blowing my mind lately too. I listened to, I think it was the Higher Side Chats. He had a guy talking about like, why were there so many mental asylums back in the day?
Exactly.
Why were all these kids going to them? And they have pictures from like, I think San Francisco or the West or something where there's no adults. It's just kids.
Yeah.
It's just really weird stuff.
I believe it was human cloning, and I'm going to tell you why.
Oh, interesting.
Is because you look into the orphan trains, okay? And I didn't know about any of this before. And there's also until Jesus told me, okay? And we've like I said, we've done shows on this. One of my highest watched shows on my entire YouTube channel is about the Cabbage Patch and human cloning. Okay, look into the Cabbage Patch postcards from the 1800s. Okay, this is a thing. And
am I going to have nightmares about this? Because I'm not a Cabbage Patch Kid fan, and the association strong. Did they look like Cabbage Patch Kids or something?
Yes. Okay, so that's where they got the idea for Cabbage Patch Kids was from these postcards because this is a thing. They are putting it in our faces. I am convinced that they were doing human cloning back then. What they were doing is they were making all these people. This is just a theory, but they're making all these children, and what they were doing is they were bringing them in on orphan trains. We don't know where their parents were. We were told that during the Depression, parents couldn't afford to have their kids and all this kind of stuff. Well, some of us have, after all this research that I've been doing, I think that is very possible that they were cloning children and people, and where the pod people come into play. So look up pod people if you get a chance. POD. I can't remember what that is. An acronym for something. Okay, I can't remember what it is. I got my notes here somewhere, but
you're good.
I've got so many notes.
Bub's in heaven right now.
I love all this stuff. Yeah, I'm like, bring it on. I've not heard any of this.
But I mean, but we've connected like the human cloning factor with the incubator babies at these old world fairs. All these babies were coming from nowhere. Like, where were the mothers at? Where were the parents? People used to pay to go in at these old world fairs and pay to go see all the babies in incubators. And they were just kind of like being pumped out. Like, yes,
incubator. Blowing my mind.
And so,
That's not a display you would think you would see, but
fast forward to the 1980s, we've got Babyland General. That's here in Georgia, in Cleveland, Georgia, which, by the way, that's the Cabbage Patch place where Xavier Roberts, there's like this whole weird, dark story about Xavier Roberts and working with some Stewart to like raise children out of a cabbage patch, and then they become slaves and stuff. Wow. It's just, the worker children. And they're connected to these cards from the 1800s of the Cabbage Patch children that we believe could have been human clones. So it's like they're just putting all this in our faces.
I totally see what you're saying.
This is freaking me out.
This is like making me think of the Epstein thing with like the ranch with like he was going to have all these women and he was going to like seed all these babies.
$50 million to all that research.
He was putting all kinds of money into science and technology, and you're saying like, like to me, it's way too analogous of like maybe they're still doing it. Like if they're doing it back then. And that's even freakier.
In the 90s, we had the sheep. I mean, in 1993, they came and announced that, they had cloned a sheep.
So okay.
Dolly.
Dolly, exactly.
If Tartaria...
We learned about that in social studies.
I'm not saying it's not real. I just don't know enough about it. But it's okay, back in that timeline, how are they cloning people? Like, where did they get the technology? Like, did we get that from... E.T.
There's always been secret technology. There's always been secret
technology. Is that what it's about?
Technology.
Yeah, we believe that cloning goes all, and I say we, like me, I've had my friend Brown Dwarf's been on my show, and Jesus as well. We're thinking like it goes way back to like antiquity or something, like way back in time. I don't know. There's evidence, if you go back and look for it, of human cloning potentially. Noah's Ark even, that kind of stuff. The stories about that. Well, I'm not an expert on it. I'm just questioning it.
No,
Horus and Osiris is literally a story about cloning. The Osiris and Horus, they were essentially creating bodies for their spirit or soul to be born back into transfer of consciousness, transfer of soul technology,
like the mummy,
into these bodies that, like the King's List. Well, how did they live to be these thousands of years?
Oh, and have you guys seen all the pictures?
What do you mean?
Oh no, have you seen the pictures of all the celebrities that have like pictures of that look exactly like them from like the 1800s?
I have seen
like John Travolta, Travolta, and Leonardo DiCaprio and Johnny Depp, and yes.
Can I give you a very brief anecdote of a story from a very good friend who has this one on record? He became very good friends with a very well-known psychic. The guy had a TV show.
John Edwards?
No, what was his
James
name?
Van Praagh.
James Van Praagh.
Okay.
Ghost Whisperer, etc. And our friend who met him is a huge skeptic. He thinks 90% of psychics are bullshit and 10% are real. And he went to a psychic convention and said that. He's like, the audience didn't love me after that. Let me just tell you. But this is how he met James Van Praagh. And so he tests Von Praagh when he gets to his house. He wants to see, are you a legit psychic? He hides a couple things around his house, and he has them in his mind. And immediately when James walks in, he just looked at me and said, your house is supercharged because it's kind of like a living museum. It's every square inch has got something on it that has a history, a story, a energy, an imprint. And so they become friends. And it's somehow, I want to say James and another guy got a Ouija board out, and our friend was taking notes. And somehow or another, this story gets very wild. They get this spirit talking to them. This Amanda Hungersford, right? This lady that's passed away. There's something wrong with my grave. I need you to go look at my grave. Da-da-da-da-da. They're like, what did you do in your life? She's like, I was a school teacher. I was this. I was that. Yada, yada. But she was like, but it's really weird. Every time I'm reincarnated, I'm married to the same man, right? And they're like, well, who are you married to? And what was it? It was, P-E-N-N. P-E-N-N. They're like, Penn. Okay, well, let's go down to the Hall of Records here in town. First, they went to her grave because she said, my grave, there's something wrong with my resting place. And so our friend again is like, I don't believe in psychics, this, that. They go to the grave at the cemetery. A tree had fallen and fallen across her gravestone, across it, where she was laid to rest. They go to the Hall of Records and find it, and her husband looks exactly like Sean Penn. I have a copy of the picture at home. Yeah. I about dropped on the floor. I was like, I got goosebumps that immediately shot up. And my friend was like, I didn't think he was horseshit after that anymore. He was like, I knew he was the real deal. I had to test him. I had to put him through it. But he's like, he is legit 100% psychically gifted. And,
What's going on there? Is it clones?
What the karmic reincarnation?
Well, that for sure. The clone thing has got to be a head scratcher.
So there's all these Clonade, for instance. All right, there's like human cloning factories all over Canada and the U.S. All right, there's a video of this
human cloning.
places.
Is this for like extra organs, like for that movie, like when you need your new kidney, you go get your clone that looks like you? Have you ever seen that? People pay for a service where they get a double body, so when you need spare parts, they can just go to that clone. Is that why this is there?
Well, I mean, if you watch celebrities and things like that, they say that some celebrities claim that they are actual clones. And there's this one video. This is a rapper. His name's Kid Buu, B-U-U, I think. And we've talked about him on my show before. He's got this interview where he straight up looks in the camera. He was like, "I'm clone number blah blah blah." Like he gives a serial number, and he said, "Shout out to Clone Aid." And I mean, he's dead serious.
What?
Yeah, he said that he's like a Gen 6 model of somebody. I don't know. It's just so weird.
So maybe
I have steered away from the whole clone thing.
Maybe there's like levels of breakaway
online, because I'm like, this is just one more thing for me to go down
a rabbit hole.
But it seems.
I think you should look into it, though. Okay. I'm going to send you guys a link to my show on the human cloning.
Sure.
I've done at least 2 of them, because there's one on with the old world fairs, like us being told that these fairs just kind of set up shop, and then they destroyed the buildings like right after the fairs came through town in 1904 and 1894.
Why would you do that? It doesn't
make sense,
right?
Because the architecture was like ancient Rome or something. It was just this beautiful architecture. What some people say is that perhaps that those buildings have been here for hundreds of years.
Sure.
Potentially or more. And what they were doing is they were harnessing like free energy and stuff like that, and using somatics, and the power companies, the big families came in and destroyed them all to change the system, to make it where we had to pay for power. We had to pay for gas. We had to pay for all the stuff that they weren't paying for back in the day.
Look at Tesla with his, Wardenclyffe enterprise getting shut down because once they found out, you're going to give energy away for free? We're not going to make money off it? Yeah. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Water too, right? Like, we got to pay for water.
Wow.
Even though it's a natural resource.
One of the greatest gimmicks ever, yeah.
And the interesting thing is that all of this is like pretty recent. I mean, this is like the mid to late 1800s that these stories are coming.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not that long ago.
No.
If there was some kind of really advanced technology, you'd think that we would have just known about it. Somebody would have written about it, though.
Well, see, that's where all the the orphan trains come into play and all that kind of stuff. Like the people who are potentially not, and that's why you got to look into the pod people as well, because the big cities, a lot of these cities were, think about like the Civil War, like a lot of cities were burned to the ground, during different wars and things like that. And we were told they were burned down because of war,
Right.
But some people say it was controlled demolition. Look, I mean, we had a case of that back in 2001, maybe potentially, you know what I'm saying, during our lifetime.
Right.
Right.
But it was a lot of controlled demolition, and it was all blamed on the Civil War. And
I've never heard that theory. That's interesting.
Complete timeline deception. Yeah.
Definitely.
I got to dig into this for myself.
Yeah.
But
I'm going to send you all the links to my shows. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Dude, yes.
Jesus is the one that turned me on to it.
That's so cool.
Jesus is the man. We need to meet him.
Y'all need to bring him on your show.
He keeps popping up.
We would love to have him on. He sounds like a great dude.
We'll shoot him a message.
Sounds like a resource.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
I just want to, I want to hear stories about that, because every time I encounter something so new, again, it's like, I've heard about Sasquatch since I was a kid, and the Loch Ness Monster, and all the standard cryptids and paranormal, and as that has kept expanding, as I keep my ears open, I'm just always like, well, what is that? I've never heard of that. Like, when is it going to stop? But like, I'm kind of also excited by the fact that there are so many avenues yet to explore, right? Like, I think this
is the first time I've ever met someone that can remote view.
Same.
I've read about it.
Same.
I've looked at government documents where I've literally
I know the document she's talking about, the FOIA from the CIA with the actual protocol for it, because that's where it talks about the Kundalini yoga effect and how it starts at your feet and goes up your spine and getting energy.
Yeah.
And so I've actually experienced that.
Yeah.
Well, I've experienced it. And with my wife and a friend of mine, if I was, close enough proximity that I could just like touch their leg or something or part of their body and be like, I'm going to transfer this energy to you. Did that a few times and was just like, am I having a mental break right now? Is this really happening? And I wouldn't say, hey, I'm doing it right now. You should feel it now. Tell me, it'd be like, I'm going to do it. You let me know if anything happens. And then at a, period of time, they'd just be like, yep, what was that? So
when I'm remote viewing, I get it's like that Kundalini rising thing. It's like I get really. I mean, you can see me live on air a lot of times when I'm doing my remote viewing. I don't do the remote viewing live on air. I just present my data on air. But there are certain targets when I connect with, like, let's just say like source energy or something. I was given a message to humanity. Okay, basically, when I was remote viewing, the orbs that make crop circles.
Oh boy.
Okay, and I know it sounds so random, but I was basically given a message, and I was conveying that message on air that night, and long story short, like, there's crop circles. Some of them were good. The original ones were here to give us messages from source, to help guide humanity. But then that technology, I guess you could say, was kind of taken and corrupted, like many things on this planet are right now.
Sure.
A lot of things are taken and flipped upside down. And so, like, the bad people get them, and like start putting like symbols in the crops and things like that, just stuff that's not. Every time I talk about this, I swear there's like light flashes in my room. So I don't know why that is.
Energy
like I'm,
surges,
orbs and stuff. Yeah. But when I talk about this, I get very hot. Like, my face will turn red. And when I start connecting with that energy, my whole body, like, the energy shifts. Like, there's something going on inside my body. You can feel it. Yeah. That happens when you're remote viewing.
Absolutely.
I would imagine.
Haven't remote viewed, but I know what you mean about feeling that energy.
Well, you do
shift.
remote view, though. Well, you might not be trained in it, but it doesn't mean you're not doing it.
Fair enough.
Sure.
Fair enough.
Now, I'd like to bring this a little full circle with you, Jessica. We talked about you remote viewing the Serpent Mound eventually. We have a friend, VJ, who's been on our show a few times, 6 times actually, with the Twitch streams combined, that basically a psychologist. He's a Tamil researcher, which is the oldest language in the world. It's a South Indian language. Tamil Nadu is the state where him and our other friend Orisa Balu, and what they've been researching is all these connections from ancient India to America to all over the place, where they find remnants of Tamil language, Tamil culture, all these various things. And VJ came to America, lived in Cincinnati for 3 years, and wanted to see if there was any history around, and came across Serpent Mound and the earthworks here in Ohio, and was totally shocked to find that these temple complexes, is what he calls them, and rightly so they are, and how advanced they were and how incredible they were. He's like, I didn't think I was going to find this in America. I thought this culture was, watching TV and fast food and had no clue that America has this ancient history. And so he actually thinks that Serpent Mound is a representation of Kundalini Yoga and the 7 bends of the serpent. Exactly.
Absolutely. Could be.
That's kind of can be debated back and forth, but I would be interested now more than ever to see if Jessica could find out more about Serpent Mound in terms of remote viewing.
And I could even task somebody else with that target too, just to see what kind of data comes out of it.
That would be
amazing.
That would be really cool. You might have to do
He's
that.
He's a fantastic guest, by the way. I've enjoyed those shows. I've seen some of those
live.
Oh yeah, VJ. He's great.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was like the ability to, again, time distortion of going forward, back, whatever current.
Yep.
Of, only being able to view maybe exterior or interior. I didn't know there were so many dimensions and layers to the remote viewing kind of abilities. I just thought thought it was like, I can see the site from outside and the doors here, and
dude, we learn so much from this show, don't we?
That's why I love doing it. That's why I love doing it every week.
We are.
I'm actually able to do when I detect a person in the environment. Like if I'm like I told you guys, I don't normally know what I'm remote viewing at all. It's blind targets. And if I detect a person in the environment, I'm able to go in and whatever data is channeling through, and I'm writing it all down. I can tell if there's like distress, if somebody's been shot or hurt or something, or like kidnapped, whatever it is. And I'm able to, when I detect a person, I can do what we call a deep mind probe, and I can talk with that person, whether they're dead or alive.
Whoa.
That's how I've located like dead bodies and things like that, to find out if people are dead or alive. Yeah.
Damn.
It's really cool.
I didn't even think about that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah, I've actually, there was one case that I was actually asked to look into something it was like a TV show kind of thing. And full disclosure, my uncle was on the show. He was one of the people on the show with someone who's, I guess, let's just say it was Nancy Grace.
Okay.
No kidding.
And but they asked me to look in. He asked me, he was like, this case is going cold. It's out of Georgia, where I live, and he's from here too, but he lives in California now. But he'd asked me, could I remote view it just for fun, just as a last resort? Like it was going cold. It was he didn't really tell me what it was. I believe it was turned out to be a young man who was working at a gas station. Pretty well-known case here in Georgia. So I'm not going to I don't want to talk about it too much.
Sure.
In detail, I don't know. They didn't actually talk about my data on air or anything. I never even got credit for this. And it's fine. It's fine. I wasn't looking for any credit.
Sure.
But I had told him after I remote viewed what happened to this man. Okay. He had disappeared after a night of, he was working at a gas station, went home with one of his buddies he worked with, and apparently they partied all night, because I felt like I was high and drunk and all this kind of stuff when I was remote viewing. Yeah. And I could tell it was just the guy was in a fog. He got messed up. And I knew there was a big fight, and I found him, like I connected with this guy, cause it was suspected that like he was in a fight with his ex-wife or something. And some people thought that maybe she had killed him. The friend said that he went to bed that night, woke up the next day, and the guy was gone. Some people suspected that the wife's family or the wife had something to do with it, and like he'd come over there, and
sure.
Some people thought that he had ran away.
Mm-hmm.
But I connected with a person who told me he was underground. He was locked up. He was buried, and he was covered in mud. All I could see were the whites of his eyes.
Jeez.
And
what?
He said, he kept telling me, I'm locked up, but he was covered in mud. So I knew that he was buried somewhere, because he just kept telling me he was locked up. He didn't really know where he was, but he was locked up. Like he was buried underground somewhere. And so I had all this information. It was like totally on target, completely on target. And I had said, I kept hearing that his teammate had done it. A teammate had gotten in a fight with him. It was a teammate. Well, it turns out that guy he had gone home with, he apparently had, he just sold his house out of the blue, after all this happened, and the guy disappeared, sold his house. And the next people who owned the house had gone in and decided to remodel the back porch. And they were remodeling the back porch, and they came over across a concrete slab that shouldn't have been there. And so they were thought this was suspicious. And they broke it open, and his body was underneath it, buried in the mud.
Dude, Sopranos situation.
Jesus.
Yeah. But I was told by my uncle, you're like, there's no way that guy could have done it. We interviewed him. There's no way he could have done it.
Sure. I mean.
And I was like, well, okay, that's just my data. You don't have to believe me.
No one thought Dahmer could do it.
Yeah. But he kept telling me, he's like, there's no way he did it. We interviewed him, and he checked out.
Dang, that's so crazy.
This is why we need AI to interview.
Oh, I don't know about that.
To interview people in those situations.
Boy.
Yeah.
It's
cool getting to do stuff like that.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's crazy because this was months later. So like a lot of times when I remote view things, I don't get the results. So you take the data, you tuck it away, and then eventually it all comes to light.
Right.
Comes back to you somehow.
Well, that reminds me.
Well,
it kind of reminds me. I want to say it was Bertrand Russell said it, or one of these philosophers or scientists said, how he came up with his answers. And he goes, I simply tell my subconscious, this is what I need you to work on. And then I let it go. And then I just let my mind work on that. And then it comes to me. It's almost like when the oven's done, and almost the same with this of like, hey, I went out and I'm exploring this place, and, I don't know what this means now, but like your mind keeps ruminating on it and wires it together finally and goes, here you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you want to get answers to something, take a sheet of paper and a pen, leave it by your bedside table, and write in cursive. Okay. And it may sound weird. Write in cursive, question, whatever you got, keep it by your bed when you go to sleep at night. And if you remember try to remember your dreams. Like we do like dream work and stuff like that, where we try to remember our dreams. We have I have a dream journal.
Yep.
You write down your dreams because you'll get a lot of information in your dreams. They say that we don't really necessarily sleep because we have to rest. We have to sleep because our minds have to rest. We have to make sense of, our subconscious has to make sense of every day.
Sure.
So that's why we sleep. That's why we dream, right? And but you will get answers in your dreams if you write it down. That's another, I guess we can say, conspiracy theory of, they quit teaching cursive writing in schools for a while.
You think there's a reason for that?
Because that's it's got something to do with your subconscious mind. We're taught to write in cursive with a lot of stuff when we're doing our remote viewing training. It's getting your subconscious thoughts out and things like that. It's connecting to your subconscious.
Well, you're not picking up the pencil. You're swirling. You're swooping into the next. It's like a movement. Well, it's like
you're almost like drawing out that thought in
pathway.
that word.
It's some kind of a pathway that it's building. Well, I've kept a dream journal. It gets weird, man. I dropped out of the discipline off and on for over the years, but man, when I was really hardcore doing it, wow, dude. You talk about waking life. I had waking lives where, in the dream state, awake in your dreams, controlling everything.
Yeah.
It gets to quite a point.
I was going to ask you about deja vu. Like, what's your thoughts on that and the correlation between it? Because for a long time in my life, you start to get this like almost like impending like anxiety building. Like you start to feel like you're charging up. You've already been there. Like whatever is about to happen, you almost feel like somebody's going to walk through the door, and nothing. Like 9 times out of 10, nothing happens. But I guess more about it is it feels like I've been in that place at that exact same point in that timeline. Like I'm almost running into this time that's already happened in a weird way.
Absolutely.
But nothing happens. But it's just there's something that has to be happening. I don't understand what they are. That's so cool because I don't know for sure. I don't have all the answers, but I can tell you what I think. Okay. And I believe, like my son the other day, he's 8, and we were walking out of the grocery store and he stopped and he was like, "Mom, I've been here before." He was like, "What is this? What is this called?" Like, he's like, there's something to this. That woman was right there. These people right here. I've lived this before.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that's deja vu.
Yep.
Yeah. So I believe that it has something to do with timelines. And I think that we're jumping timelines according to your vibrational frequency. Okay. And so I'm always telling everybody, y'all get on the highest vibrational frequency you can. Let's live and love life. And,
fair enough.
Try to do all the fix all your trauma, like not fix your traumas, but, take care of dealing with your traumas and things like that.
Right.
So that you can drop the burdens and eat good foods and just vibrate high, the high vibe tribe, so that we can strive for that high, the highest vibrational timeline,
high vibe tribe.
Yeah.
I'm down with it.
Totally. I'm on the high vibe tribe, man. Y'all join my tribe.
I'm in.
So
yeah, I'm going to definitely use that
direction.
again, and I'm giving you props on it. The high vibe tribe. I love it.
Oh, I didn't come up with it. But I use it all the time.
You didn't come up with it? This is
so the year that
that's the thing, man.
We brought ET.
Oh, really? I didn't know
our
this.
little mascot.
Oh yeah.
ET. We were rolling around at Bonnaroo Festival, and our friend ET was our totem. We had him zip tied to a tent pole, and we're just carrying him around everywhere, going to every show. And the group had all these blow-up candy canes, and we would meet up at shows, and you would just see the candy canes and ET all lit up, and you knew where to go.
Yeah.
So we just
calling card.
By like Saturday night, somebody had written an article about our group calling us the Vibe Tribe. And got a picture right up front. There's tribe. ET with all these blown up candy canes.
I like the high vibe tribe.
High vibe tribe. Hey, this is in line.
Well, I think that it has something to do with the deja vu, because I think that some people say that we are given a choice of which timeline we're going to be on, and some. This is what I was just having a conversation with somebody about this other day, and they were saying that what they thought was that, like when you're sleeping at night, like perhaps we're shown different timelines and that you get to pick, or,
what?
It just depends on how in tune you are, apparently, or whatever spiritual level you're at, you know what I'm saying? And so you can go forward or backwards, whatever. I mean, I personally believe that, like, when they turn on these hadron colliders and stuff, I think that they're purposely trying to take us back down timelines and stuff. And because one day I'll be living my best life, and then it's like a train wreck is like happening, and it's like, man, it feels like my life, the whole energy just shifted out of nowhere.
Yeah,
timelines just change like that.
Yeah, and the Mandela effect. Think about that.
Sure.
Yeah, I still complain about Chick-fil-A all the time. They changed their name. It was CHIK, now it's CHICK filet, and nobody. Yeah, it's great. Well, maybe you weren't on my same timeline, but that's the cool thing is you can tell who was on your timeline and who wasn't.
Yeah,
my biggest gripe
what
with
you all
that,
remember.
Bernstein Bears.
My biggest gripe with that is the Publishers Clearinghouse checks with Ed McMahon.
Yeah,
that happened.
Yes,
no,
it did.
Not apparently.
No,
there was never one.
Clearinghouse. It was like something else. It was like
what?
It's one of the Mandela effect.
Whoa,
like phenomena is that the Bernstein Bears.
The Bernstein Bears.
Looney Tunes, Febreze.
Febreze,
there's a bunch of them. The saying that Forrest Gump says, like, life is like a box of chocolates or something, that's changed.
You never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah,
isn't that what
it's not that anymore? Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? That changed.
What did it change to? Man. What did that change to?
I don't remember, but it changed.
I don't think.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
Okay.
Totally changed. Yeah.
So the movie Butterfly Effect was just showing us, like, hey, we're going to do this. This is what's happening. Because I think that's a real thing. With
Shazam, exactly.
Yeah, either
Shazam.
soft disclosure or with the whole like karmic wheel and the breaking of the karmic wheel and like letting you know, hey, this is what we're going to do, and we have to let you know because that's the rules of engagement. But nobody believes it.
Yeah.
Britney Spears
somebody
skirt.
in the chat is saying Britney Spears. Her skirt is black now. It was that was the
plaid,
weirdest one.
Right?
It was plaid. It's not now. Now it's all black.
No.
Shut up.
I swear it looks so weird.
Plaid or black.
We were going to
totally
Britney
black.
Spears skirt and hit me
never
baby
thought
one
I
more
would
time.
be really
Plaid
interested to watch the video.
It was
100%
plaid. I know
that was a good one. I forgot about that one.
There's plaid somewhere in that video, right? She doesn't have plaid on anywhere in that video now. It's black.
No, there's no plaid. And their skirts are like longer and stuff. It's so weird. It is just. It's not what I remember.
We're living in a multiple timeline era.
Well, they're showing us that
though. More than anything.
You're opening up portals and setting off nukes and hadron colliders, and I mean, what do you expect?
Wait. What if that's what's happening?
All of these UFOs and everything are coming in.
But what if that's what's happening? Cryptids. Like in Futurama, when there are all the different universes in the boxes, and like this would be different in this universe, and that would be different in this universe. Like, what if we're like in the same unit, like world and timeline, but like little pieces, like little like
fractals,
mini riffs of like now her skirt is black and now it's Berenstein Bears instead of whatever it was before, and now it's
it was always Berenstein. They're saying it's Berenstein Bears.
This is
okay. Well, but they're showing us this in kids' cartoons too. My son watches the multiverse, the Spider-Man multiverse, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Think about all the different seasons. They're in a different reality, and then sometimes they mix and mingle. Okay. There's all sorts of cartoons where they're showing us this.
And a lot of that.
All the Marvel movies are all
multiverse.
The DC stuff is multiverse.
And you never,
that
was not a common theme that I'm aware of from growing up, of like that thought concept just wasn't even there.
The multiverse, no.
A little bit with, again, time travel and whatever with
Back to the
certain
Future.
films. Back to the Future for sure, but again, like with Terminator, that's how they all got here. They got time traveled back from a future war to kill, the resistance leader and that kind of philosophy. But I mean, the more like the multiverse, Doctor Strange, the
Spideyverse.
No, I mean, I don't. Does that come about because
it's all in modern
that disclosure, or is it because
soft disclosure?
You have these studies of string theory and multiple realities and parallel universes
just
going on.
More information that we have to make cool, to write scripts and TV shows.
Our government's been using projects like Project Pegasus, for instance, to send kids back into time to give presidents messages, like Abraham Lincoln, JFK. There's a gentleman who claims to have been in that program, who there's actually a picture of him. He claims it's him at the Gettysburg Address wearing some oversized shoes.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And we got the chronovisor at the Vatican.
Yeah, I've heard of that one too.
Yeah.
Project Looking Glass. You guys need, if y'all are familiar with Frank Jacob.
Looking Glass, but I've heard of the chronovisor for sure. Listened to an entire 2 or 3 episodes on that. What's Looking Glass?
It's pretty wild.
Project Looking Glass. It's where they're looking into different timelines and things like that. Okay, so there's I like to say he's my friend, but Frank Jacob came on my show. Okay, and he has some very important information. He talks about Project Looking Glass quite often.
Okay.
He's really big on CERN. I actually had him on my show at Spaced Out Radio the weekend before CERN was being cut back on. Right. I think they're on all the time. Personally, I think they just tell us they're cutting it on.
Yeah. Right.
But they turn it on a lot more often than they admit. But he came on because he's a filmmaker, and he's made a film called A Tale of Two Timelines. Okay. And it's like the timeline split. And we've seen this. I mean, you can't deny it. I mean, like the whole world is split into two, basically, with people going in different directions, like the 3D life, and then people trying to ascend to the 5D and beyond, with the high vibe tribe.
There you go.
But yeah, Project Looking Glass is some sort of program where they were able to go and examine different timelines and then decide which timeline was best for whoever's in charge. I don't know.
Wow.
Project Pegasus, for instance, is very similar. I had Dr. John Stamey on my show, and he was talking about that gentleman that claimed to be in the program. He knows him personally. And he said that they were sending him and these other little boys back into the theater where Lincoln was shot. And every time that the little boys would go back into this theater, according to which timeline they sent them on, a different person shot the president. So 70% of the time it was John Wilkes Booth. 10% of the time it was his wife. Okay. And then another percent of the time it was another person. It's just, and so however it worked out, it ended up being John Wilkes Booth or whatever. But it was the one the timeline that we all went on. Yeah. It's just weird. It's also weird.
They're messing around. Basically, Project Looking Glass is like sending people in and changing the course of
history,
the direction of the world, of history, of everything.
Sure.
A lot of time manipulation. We're experiencing so much time manipulation right now.
Yeah.
And I talk about it very often. How do the Simpsons know about all these future events?
Right.
In the cartoons.
No, they are
strange.
like the animated Nostradamus.
Pretty wild.
They do. They call a lot of things.
Man. Dude, this has been a mind blower. I mean,
yeah, I know. I'm like, my cup is
my
filled.
brain's hurting.
Well, yeah, and I think now
I'm overflowing with new and wild thoughts.
My
we were all over the place tonight.
My
That's
chakras
fun,
are spinning in a massive.
Too.
I was full disclosure. I was actually getting hungry midway through, and I'm not gonna lie. I was like, man, I'm gonna make the best sandwich when I get home because I made a killer one last night. And then for some reason, I think maybe when we started getting on the deja vu, I started having that like energy kick. I was like, something. Like when you get on like you said, you get on the right topic, you get on the right energy circuit.
I'd say
I
that
get more
happened.
amped up, and I'm just like, okay, I'm not that hungry anymore, but I'm still gonna.
We're not gonna go to sleep tonight.
Home. Yeah, I'm gonna eat some food.
That's a for sure.
But I'm gonna be
you're psychically switched on.
100% right now. Yeah,
tuned in.
Your third eye just opened. Big time.
I feel it here.
Yes.
In my space.
That
this has been incredible.
Chakra.
I mean, this has been awesome.
100%.
I want to thank everybody in the chat. You guys crushing
rock.
it.
Keep seeing it just pop the whole time.
Thank you to everybody in there. I see the Bigfoot influencers in there.
Oh, nice.
Crime Vault. Hello.
That's a cool name.
Birdie Cuda, 1978.
I like Boo the
Justin
Beagle.
Lamb, Boot the Beagle, Flutz, Necro, Justin, anybody that's hanging out with us tonight.
Born Not to Run. We had a lot of
Born
people
Not to Run was
down
here, hanging out with us tonight.
Cryptid Huntress.
Cryptid Huntress
rocked it.
Brought the fire, and we want to first of all,
it was a mental diet.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to hear about anything that you got coming up.
For sure.
Anything should be on our radar. Where can we find you? Where can we see you?
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yep. I'm going to subscribe and hit the notification. I want to catch some more of your live streams.
Please.
Yep.
Yeah, y'all, I'm all over the place. I have 4 live shows a week on my channel. Well, I have 2 on my channel and 2 at Spaced Out Radio.
Mm-hmm.
I am, I'm actually speaking at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference this weekend. So if anybody's in Georgia or around anywhere in the South, y'all come up to Dillard, Georgia. That's
nice.
This weekend, Saturday, all day at the Dillard House. we've got a nice lineup of some really great researchers and podcasters and authors and things that are going to be there. Experiencers, a bunch of my research team's going to be up there, and we've got a fun event going on Saturday.
That would be awesome.
But yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really fun. Now I do have, like I said, I have a live show on the Cryptid Huntress on YouTube. You guys, please go subscribe.
Yes.
And hit that bell so my subscribers don't always get notified, unfortunately. But I have a show every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern live. I have a show tomorrow. It's going to be so good on the cryptids in Appalachia, like I call it Appalachian monsters or something is what I titled it. But we're going to talk about the Bigfoots in Georgia, the giants, even that velociraptor I mentioned in Georgia. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. And then I have a live show every Thursday where I do remote viewing targets. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do on Thursday. I haven't decided. I have one that I'm working on right now with Barry. So, and then every Saturday and Sunday night, that's 8 p.m. on Thursdays Eastern. Saturday and Sunday night, I'm at Spaced Out Radio. I have a show called Off the Trails. It's live. And I do that 10 p.m. Eastern. It goes off the rails. It's awesome. We have a really good time there. And you guys can catch me all over the place on podcasts. I got a Patreon and the Cryptid Huntress. I also have, trying to think what else I got. I'm all over social media, the Cryptid Huntress, and on Twitter at Huntress Jessica, because somebody already had the Cryptid Huntress on there. So
we gotta get you that.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, it's okay.
That's amazing stuff. And you guys can find all of Jessica's links in our description in the show notes. And Jessica, thank you again so very much.
You rock.
We want you to stay on.
Thank you.
Yeah. We want you to stay on here. We're going to come back. We're going to outro the show. We'll come back and do a proper goodbye with you. But we want to thank you so very much. You
champion.
Rock.
Like, might be the new champion.
That was so good.
That was awesome.
That was awesome.
Thank you very much.
Awesome,
Thank
Jessica.
you. You're welcome. I'll come back anytime. Y'all come on my show too.
Oh, okay? Totally. That's happening.
You got it. That's a deal.
Totally happening. We're in. We are in.
Yeah.
And that's it for us, guys. We appreciate, like I said, everybody in the chat. Thank you so much for supporting.
You're awesome.
You guys kick ass. This was an unbelievable episode. Anybody that's listening to this,
I hope you're all feeling charged like I am, because that was stellar.
So great. Thank you again, everybody. Signing out. We're The Strange Road. Keep listening, keep watching.
Check us out on our socials.
Yep, at The Strange Road. You can find us we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. The Facebook group, Strange Road Hitchhikers.
TikTok. We'll see how much longer.
TikTok, yep. Maybe we'll be over on Clapper soon. But we have, of course, don't forget to like this video. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Hit that notification bell. But I'm going to take us out, guys.
And Stoner,
thank you all.
And Disbro.
Stoner and Disbro, making everything look.
You guys are awesome.
Like
you're
always,
the best.
They just crush it, right?
Make us look fantastic.
All right, guys. Peace. We're out.
Thanks, guys.